Alzheimer's affects over 5.4 million people living in the U.S., and the disease is still on the rise, and it's the 6th leading cause of death, according to the Alzheimer Association, which I have the pleasure of sitting with today. Mary Birchard, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Birchard. I said I would get that right, and I still went for the French pronunciation.
Which I love.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us. I'd just like to start with, if you could tell me a bit about the history and how the Alzheimer Association became a national organization, one of the leading organizations to combat Alzheimer's.
Sure. We actually are one of the 5 states where Alzheimer's Association started. So in 1979, a group of women, primarily whose husbands were affected by Alzheimer's disease, put an ad in the paper and said, we're going to have a support group for people who might have a loved one with Alzheimer's. And 60 people showed up, which was the start of the chapter then, was the support group. And over the years now it's grown into a large nationwide effort cause focused on advancing research and enhancing care and support for those impacted by Alzheimer's disease. And the chapter here in Minnesota is one of the largest in the country.
Oh, I didn't know that. What are some of the unique symptoms?
Sure.
How someone identifies whether or not they think that they themselves or a family member has developed dementia and different types of dementia too?
Sure. Well, Alzheimer's disease, about 90% of Alzheimer's disease starts after the age of 65. So age is our highest risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. And one of the first symptoms of it is early memory loss. So memory loss that would impact your daily life. Things that you would normally have remembered, now you begin to forget. Things that you've known all your life, you begin to forget. Not, short-term memory things, but significant things like maybe how to turn the microwave on, or how to balance a checkbook, something you've always been able to do. So symptoms like that, where early on you're saying, something's just not right. I should know how to do this, or I should remember how to do that. That's when we'd want to go into your doctor. But Alzheimer's is actually more than memory loss. Memory loss may be an early sign of Alzheimer's disease, but eventually you struggle with abstract thinking, problem solving. You may get disoriented, difficulty with time or place, and you may experience personality withdrawal, personality changes, withdrawal. So there's a whole series of early signs for Alzheimer's disease, some of which I just mentioned, which are on our website that someone may want to check out if they're feeling like something's just not right any longer.
Are there any physical characteristics to the disease that you would, physically feel?
Typically not. Nothing that you would be able to, see outside. That's why I think it's a difficult disease to diagnose, though it is diagnosable. There's a misnomer that the only way you can diagnose Alzheimer's disease is at death, at autopsy. But we believe now we can accurately diagnose the disease up to 95%. And it's because there's a series of tests from cognitive screening, some MRIs, and some neuropsych tests that really give us that sort of certainty that this certainly is Alzheimer's disease. The progression of Alzheimer's, its symptoms, does follow a certain pattern, and we can pick that up and diagnose fairly accurately.
What would be normal and abnormal? How would that be determined?
Sure. I always say it's not if you can't find your keys. We all lose our keys, our reading glasses, forget people's names, things like that. It's when you forget something that's familiar. So it's the familiar things that you begin to forget that are different than just forgetfulness. How many of us walk into a room and forget why we came into the room, right? And we think, oh, that must be Alzheimer's. Well, Alzheimer's might be driving down the street that you've lived on for 30 years and not recognizing it. Mm-hmm. That would be that's a very different type of memory loss.
Your website says that you offer educational programs. Are those programs for people who have Alzheimer, or both, and their families?
Yes, and we actually have several classes now where we have the person with the disease and their caregiver who go through the class together over a 6-month period and learn how to navigate the disease together and gives them tools and resources, because we find that people with Alzheimer's do better when they have a caring support team around them and the caregiver has information that allows them to make good decisions and things like that. We also have a lot of classes for in the community on maintaining your brain and learning more about Alzheimer's disease, behavior, communication, driving, all of the things that a family might experience with Alzheimer's disease. We have classes available for people. We run those throughout the year. We also have a large conference every spring where we bring people in from around the country and talk about research and new techniques, and that conference also includes a track for those people living with the disease. So more and more we're finding that involving the person with the disease is really a benefit early in the stage of the disease that can benefit and improve the lives of those caring for them as well as the person with the disease. Our website will list our classes here in the metro and across the state.
How does your organization utilize volunteers, and how are they instrumental in carrying out the mission?
We could not do it without volunteers. I don't know what we would do. We have over 800 volunteers every year that help us really do our mission. They speak to community groups. They help us run our Walk to End Alzheimer's. They work on our gala at our conference. It's just a tremendous number of volunteers that make this work. So and also many of our support groups are run by volunteer facilitators, and so we provide training for that. We have over 100 in our chapter support groups. So again, on our website you could find a support group near your home or work that might be very convenient for you.
So obviously you have a passion for the work. Why are you interested in Alzheimer's?
You know, I've been with the association nearly 8 years, and my father was diagnosed with vascular dementia and then Alzheimer's in 1999. He passed away about 2 years ago, and Alzheimer's has been a big part of my family and really impacted me, and I feel like I'm doing something for my dad, who could no longer speak for himself the last 5 years of the disease. I feel like I'm speaking for him by doing this work.
And knowing that, I've also had some people that I knew who passed away from Alzheimer's. Can you talk about, maybe from what you can see, how frustrating it is, how frustrating of a disease it is because of, again, the challenges to find a cure or to raise money to, do the research to find and give people answers?
Right. You know, one of the most frustrating things, I think, is that people often don't get a diagnosis. They may have the disease, and because a physician or the medical community thinks that nothing can be done for them, they're not told. They're not told they have Alzheimer's. And that's really a disservice to the families and those with the disease, because if you're told you have Alzheimer's disease, you can begin putting your care team together, you can begin making good decisions, advance directives, you can get the information that you need where you can live with that disease for as long as possible in the setting that you want to live in. So we really think that diagnosing the disease really early is key to that, and what the biggest frustration is not getting the diagnosis until it's way too late for that person to participate in their care decisions. We have a service at the Alzheimer's Association that I think is just stellar for families. It's called Family Care Consultation, and that's really when a person gets a diagnosis. We bring the family together, and if the person with the disease can participate, they do, and we put together a care plan that says, okay, this disease is going to progress because Alzheimer's is a fatal, progressive, no-fault brain disease. So what are we going to do about it? And it really gets everybody on the same page, helps put a plan together, lets them know what resources are available in the community to help that person, whether it's to stay home longer or choose an assisted living that might be most appropriate for them. Mm-hmm. I think that's a terrific service for families that they don't even know what's out there. They're trying to do it all by themselves. They don't know where to turn. We'd really like it if they turn to us and we can help get them going on their way.
I'm sure that will be a tremendous help to a lot of families who don't know that your service exists.
It's a very scary disease when you don't know what's going on.
Well, tell us about any activities or events that you all have a very popular walk.
We do.
What time of year does that happen?
The Walk to End Alzheimer's is in the fall. Last year we had nearly 4,000 people in the metro area that came out and walked for us. It's one of the largest walks in the country. What's really important about the walk, in addition to that it raises dollars that allows us to do the work in the community and provide those services, is that it raises awareness and it creates advocates. So if you're feeling very alone in this disease with your family and you come out on a Saturday morning, you see that there are thousands of people just like you who have a loved one with this disease, who want to make a difference, who want to end this disease and do something. And so it's really inspiring. I always get a little lump in my throat when I see how many people really care deeply and want to do something about this disease. And we believe that we can do something about it, but we have to work together. We have to reduce the stigma. And I think the Walk to End Alzheimer's begins to help us take steps in that direction.
Great. Well, I hope that also by being on the show,
Yes.
that us broadcasting this will increase your volunteer base and support. Can you also guide people to your website and
Sure.
phone number that they could call?
Yep. Our website is www.alz.org/MNND. So we're Minnesota, North Dakota, so it's ALZ/MNND. And on there is information about the latest research, about services that we're offering, classes that are coming up, how to get involved in the association, how to volunteer, and how to sign up for our walk. So there's just a lot of information there. We also have a 24/7 helpline with 64 different languages. It's answered day or night. People can provide counseling on that line, give you information about resources, answer questions. And that number is 1-800-272-3900. And that helpline, I think, is like the connector to finding out how do I really get to know more about Alzheimer's disease. One of the tragedies about this disease is when people are often diagnosed, they're told to come back in a year to the doctor, and they're not given information that there's an organization out there that's serving thousands of families and helping them through the disease process. So if you don't need us today, keep us in mind, and when someone in your family is diagnosed, to give us a call.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for being with us,
Thank
Mary.
you so much for your time.
And good luck with all your work.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks.